Well, it's that time of the year when we Indians have to sacrifice sleep. We'll be playing three ODIs followed by three T20s and then four test matches. So, hello Atasham, welcome to the first episode of our season 2. How are you?
Hi Abhishek, as you rightly mentioned, season 2, episode 1, and international cricket is back. India is playing Australia, but there's also a series between West Indies and New Zealand. England will be taking on South Africa, so these are interesting times, starting 27th of November. So, as you rightly mentioned, we'll be discussing in this episode about all the three formats, the series that we'll be having with Australia, the ODI series to start off with, then the T20 series, and then the crucial and the very important Border Gavaskar Test series. So, yes, I hope you will enjoy our discussion. So, I think we should begin by discussing our first segment, that is the shortest format of the game, both the short formats of the game, I mean ODIs as well as T20s. To start off, the ODI series. Well, it's very important for India to win the series as well, but the stakes for Australia are very high, considering the World Championship table for ODIs to qualify for the 2023 Cricket World Cup. Well, India being the hosts have already qualified. So, yes, it's a big series for Australia, and winning all the three ODIs would be a massive boost for their chances to finish at the top of the table when the table is being calculated at the end.
Right, and one great thing about Indian ODI team or limited over teams when we talk about that team, it's always a given fact that Indians are very strong on paper, but this Australian side has a tremendous record and it's a brilliant side, even in T20s and one days.
Correct. Talking about one days, well, as you know, the last time they had the ODI series in England, Maxwell performed, Carey performed, even Stoinis is in form now, and Warner has found his feet as well. So yes, Australians look very strong opposition to face, and the ODI series will be very exciting, considering the fact that most of their players are in form. Their squad looks very good on paper and they are in form. Well, as you saw in the England ODI series, Stoinis batted at number 3, and considering the form that he is in after IPL, I think he should continue to bat at number 3. And if he continues to perform and he does well in the ODI series, I think Australia have got a very good chance because their top order will be sorted if Stoinis performs.
And it's always a blessing to have an all-rounder who can bat in the top six. Marcus Stoinis being in red-hot form gives them that flexibility of playing an additional bowler or a batsman depending on their combination for that match.
Yes. Apart from Stoinis, there's another player will be in question, and viewers as well as selectors will be looking at is Alex Carey. Well, he has not got any game time after the England series being on the bench in IPL. But in a latest interview, he did mention that he worked on his technical aspects with Ponting, and he is amongst the top contenders to keep wickets for a long time in ODIs and as well as T20s for Australia because he has been performing really well. And talking about another lower order batsman for them, Glenn Maxwell. Well, when you name Glenn Maxwell, the stakes and hopes both are pretty high because a lot is expected from Glenn Maxwell, but he is like a touch and go player. You cannot expect him to be very consistent for a long period of time, but when he plays well, he wins a lot of matches. So Australia would be looking at some consistency from his side, and if he performs well, they are ought to do well. Well, the bowling lineup also looks very good for Australia with Hazelwood coming back of a very good ODI series against England. He will be in high confidence. And you know, Patrick Cummins and Mitchell Stark are world class bowlers. And the leg spinner, Adam Zampa, he has also done pretty well in the ODIs. Consider a couple of years, over the couple of years, he has done pretty well. And his record states so. And he has established himself as a top leg spinner for Australia in that squad, beating Nathan Lyon for that place. So I think their bowling lineup is pretty much sorted. You talk about the fifth bowler, you can get some overs from maybe Stoinis or a Maxwell, but their bowling lineup seems pretty much sorted. Now that's all about Australia, their squad. Now let's talk and discuss about Indian squad. Well, Rohit Sharma won't be playing this limited over series, so there are a couple of options and spots up for grabs, and let's discuss how the 11 would shape out to be.
Right, and it's a huge blow to this Indian side because Rohit Sharma is a very key player, and with Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan at the top, it can send shivers down the opposition bowling ranks because both are prolific limited overs batsmen. But in the absence of Rohit Sharma, I think maybe Lokesh Rahul will have to step up and fill that opening slot because they don't have any openers right now with them.
I
Yep.
would like to differ with you on this point. Well, Virat Kohli has been trying to
Mm-hmm.
establish KL Rahul as a middle order player
Mm-hmm.
because India have been lacking in that
Right.
place. And a wicket keeper
Right.
batting in the middle order, Rahul has performed really well in the couple of series that he has been given a chance to bat at five. Well, you did
Right.
talk about the
Mm-hmm.
Australian series that we had in home. He won the second ODI with a brilliant 80 odd, and then he came out in New Zealand batting at number five, got 100. Well, I don't think missing Rohit Sharma, they should alter the place for KL Rahul because he is being looked at as our top keeper in ODIs and T20s, and he should bat at number five, continue to bat at number five in ODI especially. Well, talking about the opening slot, I have a different opinion here. They have added Mayank Agrawal in the squad, and
Mm-hmm.
he has been really prolific in the IPL as well. So I think he should be looked at and given a chance. Considering if one of the openers is unfit or out of form, then we have another opener in the wings waiting to grab that opportunity. So I think Mayank Agrawal should be looked at and he should be given a chance. And he should bat at the
Mm-hmm.
top in the absence of Rohit Sharma. And just to see how he goes in Australia, because as you know, he made his test debut in Australia and he did really well. So I have very high hopes from him, and I think he should be looked at and given a chance in ODI to bat at the top with Shikhar Dhawan.
Right, that's a fair point, Adisham. I think with Virat Kohli trying to establish Lokesh Rahul in the middle order, so the reason why I wanted Lokesh Rahul to shift at the top was because they have someone like Manish Pandey and Sanju Samson. But if we play Lokesh Rahul in the middle order and Mayank Agarwal at the top, then I either Sanju Samson or Manish Pandey will have to miss out in the playing 11. So that's the reason I was looking at Lokesh Rahul to open.
Yeah, you're right in your opinion, but I think that will be changing a lot of places and altering the balance of the squad that the captain has been trying to establish. Your point is
Right,
right. KL
right.
Rahul is a very good opener, but I think the team balance, which is being looked at with a longer picture in mind, the 2023 World Cup should be stick to, and a new player should be tried at the top and should be given a chance. That's what I think.
Right, right. And yes, you rightly said at the start of this episode that Virat Kohli will be part of this limited overs format, but later on, obviously, he'll have to fly back to India. So, number three is a no-brainer. Virat Kohli at number three. Shreyas Iyer at four. He has done extremely well. So, that is another fixed spot for the Indians, and they should not have any doubts with regards to that number four position because Shreyas Iyer has really established himself at that spot.
Yes, that's what I've been talking about. The middle order looks very set with Iyer at 4, Kohli at 3, and KL Rahul now coming in at 5. Because if these three
Mhm.
players establish themselves and play really well, then you can set a platform for someone like Hardik Pandya to come in at
Mhm.
number 6 or Ravindra Jadeja to come in at number 7 because these players are also very capable with the
Mhm.
bat. And you saw the exploits from Pandya and Jadeja in the recently concluded IPL. So I think that with these
Right,
three
right.
players at 3, 4, and number 5, if they set us well, you can call a base for Hardik Pandya and Jadeja to come in at 6 and 7, we'll have a very good finish to the innings as far as batting is considered for a lot of ODIs to come.
Right, and especially in the absence of Mahendra Singh Dhoni, because they needed that finisher who
Yeah,
can give power right
correct.
towards the death overs. So
Ye-
yes, that's a very fair point. With
yes,
Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja, definitely they can play that powerful finish towards the
yes.
end.
You rightly talked about MS Dhoni. He left a very major void in this Indian squad, batting in the lower middle order and keeping wickets. So Rahul to keep wickets and Hardik Pandya and Jadeja to finish the innings fills that void to some extent at least. And if this combination is stick to for a long period of time, I think it will pay dividends and it will be a very good lower middle order for India in the coming matches and in the coming future. Well, if we talked about Hardik Pandya and Jadeja batting at 6 and 7, that's a pretty solid batting lineup. But also gives you bowling options from Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja. You can carry a lot of overs from these players. Out of the 20 possible, you can have at least 15. So the bowlers coming in can be looked at in different ways and could be bowled at different positions. For example, you consider a Bumrah. You can save his over for death, or you can save his overs for crucial batsmen coming in at middle order. For example, for Australia, Labuschagne, the likes of Maxwell and Carey coming in that lower middle order space. If they come in the 30th or the 35th over mark, then you can bring back Bumrah to get these players out early. So that will be a very crucial point.
Right, and nobody in the top five bowls for India. Earlier, we saw that either Virender Sehwag or Tendulkar would roll their arms over and provided part-time option. But now in this Indian squad, it's that all-rounder spot becomes very crucial because they need that balance and sixth bowling option in case someone has a bad day.
Yes, and now you have two sixth bowling options with Jadeja and Pandya. And I know that Pandya did not bowl in the IPL, but I think he should be looked at as a bowler as well because I don't think, and I am making a very crucial point here, that he finds his place in this 11 as a specialist batsman. He should give some overs, at least 4, 5, or 6 overs from him in every match is very crucial for his spot in the 11 as well as for the balance of this Indian team.
Let's hope he's not carrying any niggle in this ODI series. And we are all hoping that because his 5, 6, or 7 overs that provides that much needed balance to the squad. So, yes, we all are hoping that Pandya is fit to bowl in this ODIs.
Yes. And talking about the bowling lineup, well, Bumrah, Shami are no brainers. They'll find their spot. We have two extra spots left now. And with the absence of Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I think it's a debatable spot to have that third pacer. But the spinner spot is also in question here. Well, Yuzvendra Chahal is the priority, and I think he should be playing. He should be the starter for that spin department. But you have also have the option to look at a Kuldeep Yadav.
Right. So yes, depending on the huge Australian ground, so obviously a wrist spinner, both the wrist spinners, one Chinaman obviously, provide an attacking option to the skipper. So you rightly said the combination of Kulcha can wreak havoc in the opposition ranks.
Yes, and if you play both of them, you still have three pacers with Hardik Pandya in the squad. You have Bumrah, Shami, and Hardik Pandya.
Right.
Considering if Hardik Pandya bowls his over,
Right.
but then you can have these two
Right.
spinners wreak havoc, as you rightly mentioned.
Correct. So are you looking at someone like Navdeep Saini to fill in that third seamer spot, maybe, or Shardul Thakur? Because both have done well in the limited chances which they have got. But yes, I think we all saw how Virat Kohli used Navdeep Saini for RCB. He didn't have the best of the IPL, Navdeep Saini. So he may not be carrying that confidence, but we'll have to wait and watch how he performs in the nets, maybe if he troubles the batsman.
Well, one thing with Navdeep Saini is that he has a lot of potential. You saw that in the New Zealand ODI series. He batted really well, coming very low down the order, but he has the potential to bowl Yorkers at will. And with the absence of Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I think he is a very good candidate to be looked at to play and fill in that number third seamer spot. Well, in Australian conditions, you don't really have to play three spinners with Jadeja, Kulcha. So you have to play that third simmer. And I believe that Navdeep Saini would just pip Shardul Thakur for that third seamer spot with the performances that he has already had in international cricket at ODI level.
And he's consistently clocking above 145. He does that effortlessly. So that is very encouraging sign for Indian cricket.
Yes, yes. That's the very good point. And fast bowling in Australia has always been the key. And Saini's pace will aid him to find that place in the 11 in ODIs for certain. Well, let's talk about the T20 11 as well now. We'll start with the seamers, I believe, because we have been discussing seamers from ODI squad.
Hmm.
But here, one point I would like to make is the third seamer spot should definitely go to T. Natarajan, who has found his place in the squad after Varun Chakravarthy has had to miss out. So I think the performances that Natarajan gave in the recently concluded IPL should stand him in good stead to find place in this 11, at least for a couple of T20s, just to be looked at how good he can be at international level.
Yes, correct. And David Warner, whenever the team was in some kind of pressure, he looked up to Natarajan and he always delivered the goods under tremendous pressure in the IPL. Be it
Yes,
his spot on Yorkers or maybe his change of pace. He's
correct.
really done well for SRH.
Correct. And consider Bumrah and Natarajan bowling together, all Yorkers at the death, and it will be so much difficult for the opposition to score runs freely if they both are on target and bowling really well. And then you can have someone like Shami to bowl those opening overs. Because if you remember IPL, he has been really good at the top, swinging the ball, getting that seam right, and bowling those good lengths, making it difficult for the batsman to score in the power plays. So the power plays as well as the death overs would be sorted if these three top bowlers perform to their potential. That's what I think.
And yes, and spinners, like usually the case is, spinners will obviously dominate the middle overs. So yes, bowling is looking extremely solid for the Indians for even in the T20s. But spare a thought for someone like Varun Chakravarthy because he was the go-to guy for Dinesh Karthik and later Owen Morgan for KKR, and there was a sense of mystery to his bowling, be his leg breaks or, and it was very difficult for the opposition batsman to pick.
Correct. It is very unfortunate that Varun Chakravarthy had to miss out, but I think the injury has to be considered. And it was very fair by the selection committee to give chance to Natarajan in place of Varun Chakravarthy. They could have gone for any experienced spinner,
Right.
but they went for a newbie for a newbie. So that is very good from BCCI and the selection committee to give chance to this youngster T Natarajan, and I think he should grab his spot and play really well. Also, Abhishek, as you mentioned, spinners dominating the middle over phase. Well, Yuzvendra Chahal is a T20 legend, I would say, because he has been performing very consistently in T20s. And with Ravindra Jadeja bowling as well as giving those valuable runs in the lower middle order, well, I think he should also find his spot in the 11 and make for a very good bowling lineup when you consider Shami, Natarajan, Bumrah, Yuzvendra Chahal, and Jadeja. And add Hardik Pandya and his few overs to that contention. That makes for a very solid bowling lineup as well as a lower middle order. That's what I think.
Right. Etisham, I think we are forgetting one name here, Deepak Chahar.
Yes, Abhishek, you rightly pointed that out. But I think with the advent of Shami, Bumrah, and the chance being given to Natarajan, I think Deepak Chahar would be very unfortunate to miss out. Well, there are three factors I would say. I'll talk about two of them which are very crucial. First is the pitches in Australia for this series. Well, Deepak Chahar is a predominant swing bowler, and I think pace is very important in Australia. And these three top contenders, Natarajan, Shami, and Bumrah, better Deepak Chahar in that facet. Well, there's another point. Deepak Chahar and Bhuvneshwar Kumar are very similar bowlers. And when Bhuvneshwar Kumar would be fit, there would be a dilemma for the selection committee whether to go for Bhuvi or whether to go for Deepak Chahar. So the place for Deepak Chahar is not very certain in the squad. So if you give him chances and set someone like Natarajan out of the 11, well, you are looking at what you've been looking at from the previous years, not giving chance to the youngster. Well, Natarajan brings in that X factor
Mm-hmm.
and he should be tried as well. And as I said with Deepak Chahar,
Mm-hmm.
competition with Bhuvneshwar Kumar, very much similar bowler. And a swing bowler in Australia, I think it will be very difficult for him to find the place in the 11, at least for this series.
Okay, fair point, fair point. The reason why I included Deepak Chahar in our discussion was because he was the top performing T20 bowler, the one bowler which Dhoni used him to perfection in the shorter format. So that is the reason I decided to bring in Deepak Chahar in the discussion. But you made a fair point. In the absence of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Deepak Chahar has been shouldering the bowling responsibilities. But with Natarajan coming in, he can provide that variation,
And that,
left arm pace. So that is a good option.
yes,
Hmm.
Abhishek, you rightly pointed out that variation the left arm variation has been missing from the Indian squad since Zahir Khan retired. We tried a lot of options to fill in that spot, giving chances to Khalil Ahmed, giving chances to someone like Sran a couple of years ago, but none of them has been able to establish their spot in the squad, even for Unatkat. But with Natarajan showing the prospect, I think he should be given chance. And I think if he grabs the spot, it will be there for a long time to stay. And that's a very good
Right.
opportunity for Natarajan. Well, apart from this, there's also one more spot in contention, especially when you consider the T20 11. Well, the opening spot. Well, as you rightly pointed out, KL Rahul in T20s won't bat in the middle order. He is a predominant top order player, and with the absence of Rohit Sharma, it will be a competition between Shikhar Dhawan and Mayank Agrawal to find that top order spot along with Rahul. Because Mayank Agrawal was also very prolific in the recently concluded IPL. So that's a spot to be looked into as well.
Correct, correct. And Mayank Agarwal provides that dynamism at the top. He can be very innovative with his shots and can provide much needed solidity in the absence of Rohit Sharma in the even in the T20Is.
Yes, and another point that goes in favor of Mayank Agrawal is that Shikhar Dhawan hasn't been a regular starter for T20s in India. You consider the series in New Zealand, it was Rahul and Rohit Sharma that were opening. But there's one point in favor of Shikhar
Right.
Dhawan is that he provides that left-handed option at the top of the order, because you consider the middle order that we have, there are no left-handers at all. We have Virat Kohli, we have Shreyas Iyer, and then we have Manish Pandey coming in. So you don't have any left-hander. So apart from Ravindra Jadeja, but he comes very low down the order. But Shikhar Dhawan has been
Mhm.
in and out, and the form that he's had will support him. But his not being regular in this 11, I think it will just go in favor of Mayank Agrawal because he has been really solid in T20 format of late.
One thing which can go in favor of Shikhar Dhawan is his back-to-back centuries in IPL. That is the recent form. So rich form Shikhar Dhawan is in correctly, and he was prolific for Delhi Capitals. So maybe, just maybe, that can be an added advantage in favor of Shikhar Dhawan.
Fair point, Abhishek, but I think well, you talk about Mayank Agrawal. He has also been prolific this
Mhm.
IPL. He was amongst the top
Hmm.
five run scorers. He also
Correct.
got a century. He got out for
Yes.
89 in one match. So I think he matched Shikhar Dhawan in terms of form. And I think he bettered him for his consistency, because Dhawan had those two centuries, but Agrawal was consistent throughout. So consistency, Agrawal did a very good job of matching Shikhar Dhawan. So I think it will be a spot for contention at the top, but
Right.
the middle order again picks itself. Virat Kohli will bat at number three. Shreyas Iyer will bat at number four. Manish Pandey will come in and bat at number five or six. With Hardik Pandya coming in, Hardik Pandya could bat at five or six, switching spots with Manish Pandey. We have Ravindra Jadeja at seven, and the bowling lineup, as we mentioned, pick itself. So I think this T20 lineup looks pretty much sorted, even in the absence of Rohit Sharma. And I think this T20 squad has the potential to win the series, as well as maybe why it was Australia.
I think that's a very ambitious thing which you have said right now. And again, I feel bad for Sanju Samson. He has been included in both ODIs and T20s. And while we were discussing the possible or potential playing 11, he was still not part of the potential playing 11.
I think
And
Abhishek,
he has been knocking on the doors of Indian cricket for long now.
but there's one point that goes against Sanju Samson. His consistency. He has been absolutely
Right.
inconsistent. One innings, he'll come in and get you a quick fire 60-65, but he'll get out for scores of 5 and 6 in 5-6 consecutive innings. That is not what is required at international level. You ought to be consistent at this level, especially with the T20 World Cup coming and around the corner. And
Mhm.
with KL Rahul bagging in that keeping spot, I think it will be very difficult and very tough for
Mhm.
Sanju Samson to find options, to find opportunities to grab his spot and make that permanent spot his in this T20 11.
Now let's look at the Australian squad. They have included Green and Sean Abbott. primarily because of their recent exploits in Sheffield Shield tournament.
Yes, Australians give chances to the players if they perform at the domestic level. And Cameron Green has been absolutely fantastic. He has been included in the test squad as well. We'll be discussing that later. But I don't think the Australians would be tinkering as well with their lineup. There's a very solid top order that they have established as of now, which Toyn is doing really well at the BBL and at the IPL as well. I think he'll find a spot at the top order. And then Smith is a regular, be it any format. Australians have to play him because he is that binding glue that is very much required in this Australian lineup. And the openers, they pick themselves, Warner and Finch. So that's the top 5 or 4 sorted for them, with Carey coming in at number 6 or 7.
Absolutely. Now, it's a very curious case for Glenn Maxwell because he had a horrible run in the recently concluded IPL. And yes, obviously, it will be a new ball game altogether with the T20Is played in Australia. But he didn't have much of the clue. He didn't even hit a single six in 13 matches which he played. And a lot of talks were going on behind the scenes that he was not given a proper responsibility. But with Maxwell back in the Australian setup, I think his role will be lot clearer and better communicated to him by the captain.
Absolutely, Abhishek. That's a very valid point. Because Glenn Maxwell, with this Australian setup and with coach Justin Langer, has found a responsibility as well as a meaning in that 11. Well, you talked about IPL. Just go back a match from IPL in the final ODI against England. He came in at number 6 and he smashed England. He hit 6 sixes, smashing Rashid all over the place. So I think, as I mentioned
Right.
before, he is a touch and go player. You cannot expect consistency from him. But considering the T20 format, if he clicks and in the match, in a particular match, if he clicks, that's a match won, absolutely won for Australia. So I think they'll gamble with Maxwell with the solid top order, and I think he should be looked at and given chances because if given chances, he has that opportunity to develop consistency as well. So as we discussed, the Australian lineup looks pretty much settled as well as far as T20s goes. And with the bowling lineup for Australia, the lineup I think would stay the same as they have for ODIs. And the bowlers, as we discussed, are pretty much very good. So that will be a very good series to watch as well with the T20 World Cup around the corner. So that pretty much sums up our segment one, that is discussing about the ODIs and T20s for the Australian series. Now let's talk about segment two, for which we are very much excited as of now. The test series, the Border Gavaskar test series with a pink ball test to begin all things with. At Adelaide, we'll be playing our first away pink ball test at Adelaide, a venue where Australia has never lost a pink ball test. That will be very interesting and exciting. Then we have the Boxing Day test coming up, and yes, it will be very unfortunate with Virat Kohli missing out on 3 tests, but still, it's India playing Australia. And even if we are underdogs, we like to watch matches getting up early in the morning down under because that's an exciting series. There's a lot of competition between ball and bat, and there's a lot of banter to go around with it. Well, you consider Rishabh Pant calling Tim Payne a temporary captain, and now Tim Payne coming back for the second, third, and fourth test with Rahane batting. And what will he mention to him? What will he call him? Temporary captain? Well, that will be pretty much fair. But the banter will be something to be looked at, and we are very excited for it, aren't we, Abhishek?
Absolutely, Atasham. And as you rightly said, we all love to wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. But mostly it was not the case. One reason which we are looking forward to see Indians performing well in the test is because of their superior bowling attack. And it has been the best in business since last 2 or 3 years. Look at the fast bowling attack of India. It's an envy for any side and for any captain. Yes, Virat Kohli will be missing after the first test, but obviously, yes, Indians will be going in as the underdogs, but it's a challenge, and they will have to embrace this challenge in order to come out victorious in this series.
Yes. And that's where I feel the first test would be very important with Virat Kohli playing, because if Indians falter in that test, and added to that, if Virat Kohli is missing from the next three tests, well, that will be a lot of pressure. And Australians, as far as we know them, would capitalize that pressure that Indians would be feeling. So, first test beginning on 17th of December in Adelaide, day night, is very crucial and very important. And we ought to win that test match. It's very important for us and our chances. That's what I feel.
And before this recording, Atisham, we were discussing one important thing going into the first test match of pink ball test, that the toss will become such a huge factor in the first test.
Correct. Correct. Yes, toss will be a very important factor. And I don't feel that batting first or bowling first would be a very easy decision for the captain if he wins the toss. But looking at the conditions, or tosses in Australia have been very important always in test matches, be it day night or be it day test matches. But talk about the last three test matches, second, third, and fourth, especially in Sydney and Melbourne. If you lose the toss and you field first, it will be very difficult to win the test match. For Indians to survive without Virat Kohli in those test matches, it is very imperative that we win the toss, we bat first, we put a good first inning scores on the board, so that we don't find ourselves in a position of tantrums, because that will be very difficult to come out of.
Right, and with Virat Kohli, he's always in your face. With the opposition, is always aware that okay, no matter what, he'll come back harder at you.
Hmm,
And there's this attacking instinct which Virat Kohli has.
correct,
So that psychological advantage which Australia will have after the first test, that will be another factor going into the
correct.
second test.
Correct. You mentioned about Virat Kohli's captaincy. Well, it has been questioned in this shorter format, and rightly so. But if you look at test matches, he has been phenomenal. I'm winning a series in Australia. It's a fabulous achievement. And as a test captain, he's very attacking, and he gets into the face of the opposition. That you correctly pointed out. And that is very important, to be very attacking in test matches. And that is what is helping India to win those abroad test matches. Virat Kohli's captaincy. And that will be missed.
Absolutely. So let's look at the team combination now. We have already had this discussion of the huge build-up of the test match, which we
Correct.
are all excited. Let's
Correct.
look at the combination. What do you think, Adisham, will be a good combination going into the first test?
Yes, Abhishek, the team is also very important apart from the captain. That is a no brainer. And this Indian lineup has been phenomenal over the years, especially in away test matches. If you leave out the series in New Zealand that we lost 2-0. Well, we'll talk about the opening spot later. But the middle order picks itself in the presence of Virat Kohli. Well, you have Pujara settled at number 3, Virat Kohli coming in at number 4, Rahane at number 5, Vihari is a no-brainer at number 6. At 7, it's a debatable spot between Rishabh Pant and Wriddhiman Saha as a keeper. But I think the current form of Rishabh Pant and his fitness don't favor him at all to find that spot. And Saha is an alternative to bat in at number 7.
I think
Uh,
Adisham, Wriddhiman Saha also picked up a niggle, I think, during the later stage of the tournament. So his fitness will also be a concern
correct,
going into the
correct.
first test.
Correct, correct. But if you have a fit Vriddhiman Saha and a fit Rishabh Pant, then I think Vriddhiman Saha is the option to look at, because he is arguably the best keeper that we have, and he has been batting consistently well in test matches of late as well. That's the number 7 spot. Now let's talk about the opening spot as well. I think Mayank Agrawal is a no-brainer, the opener that we'll have. But
Absolutely.
has KL Rahul done enough to get back into this Test 11 as an opener?
That presents an interesting conundrum for the Indian skipper because Prithvi Shaw is another option which the Indian captain can look into. But even Prithvi Shaw of late is not in the best of forms. But as you rightly said, Atisha, maybe the limited over exploits of KL Rahul can boost his confidence maybe to open at the top. Or we also have one more option, Rohit Sharma. He has been drafted into the squad later and obviously he has his injury concerns. But if Rohit Sharma is fit, it will be touch and go in favor of Rohit Sharma, obviously.
I have 2 points here, Abhishek, that will go in favor of KL Rahul. First of all, when this Test squad was picked, Rohit Sharma was left out. So
Correct.
I believe the selectors were looking at and were looking seriously at KL Rahul for contention of that opening
Mm-hmm.
spot. And he has experience of batting in test matches at that opening spot. He got 150 odd at the Oval in 2018,
Right.
very recently, if you remember. Just
Right.
that he was out of form for a while,
Mm-hmm.
he missed out on that Test 11 squad as well. Prithvi Shaw, no question, fitness issue, and he's out of form. So I don't think, will have that option for
Mm-hmm.
contention for that opening spot as of now. And talking about Rohit Sharma, I think the first test, I think KL Rahul will have that edge over Rohit Sharma to play as an opener. But let's come to the second test onwards. From the second test onwards, with Virat Kohli not there, both KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma should find their place in the 11. But the question would be, who will bat at number 4 and who will open the innings?
Absolutely. That's a very tricky domain for the captain, Ajinkya Rahane. Because Rahul, we all know, is susceptible to the moving deliveries, and with Stark, with his left arm angle, the ball swinging in. So that will be a challenge altogether for KL Rahul. But if you're backing him in the first test match,
Yep.
then I don't think there's any doubt that we should not be picking him as an opener for the second test. So I think Rahul, with his experience of playing in Australia, even in the test matches, should hold him in good stead.
Yes, and if KL Rahul has been picked, as you rightly said, as an opener for the first test, he should continue and bat as an opener for the rest of the test matches as well. That presents another question. There's a youngster waiting in the winning wings to grab that number 4 spot, Shubman Gill. Then we have a question: who should play, Shubman Gill or Rohit Sharma? Because Shubman Gill has done nothing wrong at all to not find a place in the 11. Rohit Sharma is a big name, I understand that. But if you're looking at the future, and it will be Rahane's call, obviously, but there would be a competition. 80-20 in favor of Rohit Sharma, but there would be a competition between Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill inside that dressing room to find that number 4 spot when Virat Kohli goes missing.
Absolutely, and mostly the decision will be in favor of Rohit Sharma, but much depends on his fitness. So we don't have any clue what is the current status of his fitness. But yes, Shubman Gill has done no harm to his reputation by performing really well in those 8 overs.
Yes, Shubman Gill is a very good prospect going ahead for this Indian Test squad, and he has that temperament, and we've been seeing it in the IPL as well as in the Ranji Trophy matches as well, in which he has been doing really well. So I think that will be a corundum for the number 4 spot. Number 5th spot for all the Test matches, Rahane. He'll be captain of the Test team as well from the second to fifth, fourth Test match. So that is sorted. Number 6, Vihari again has done no harm at all to his spot to be questioned at. So he'll come in at number 6. The keeper's keeping spot we have discussed, between it will be between Saha and Pant. Now coming to the bowlers. Well, as we discussed at the start of this segment too, the Indian pace trio of Ishant Sharma, Mohammad Shami, and Jasprit Bumrah has been phenomenal over the past 3-4 years, playing away and at home. And I think these three would be the starters. But the question is on Ishant's fitness because he has not been included in the 11. But then we have a fourth superstar waiting in the wing, especially for test matches, Umesh Yadav. And with the absence of Ishant Sharma, Umesh Yadav should find his spot in the 11. No questions at all. And he should be the third pacer. And Mohammad Shami, Umesh Yadav, and Jasprit Bumrah should form the pace trio for India.
Yes, Etisham, now my question is, will you include someone like Mohammad Siraj in the squad? And he has also done well with the red ball in the longer format of the game. Even in the 8 overs, he has been the wicket-taking bowler for the India 8 team.
Absolutely, Abhishek. You pointed out very rightly that Siraj has been magnificent in the Ranji Trophy and the List A matches. But again, Umesh Yadav has done no harm to his reputation, to his spot being
Right,
questioned at. And I think
absolutely.
he should be a no-brainer, absolute starter in absence of Ishant Sharma for that number 3 pacer spot. The question for contention is for that spinning spot
Spinning spot.
between Ravindra Jadeja and R. Ashwin. I think it will be a corundum, and I am not certain who is going to play because both are world class spinners. Going with Ravindra Jadeja will give you that extra left handed batting option, and he has been in good form. And as you know, Ravi Chandran Ashwin is a top class off spinner. So I think it will be a good headache to have for the Indian selection team.
What about Kuldeep Yadav?
Kuldeep Yadav, he did really well at SCG, grabbing a fifer, but that was 2 years ago. You
Mhm.
recount, you recollect, there's nothing considerable that he has done over the past few years in test matches to find his spot in Australia in test matches, and pipping Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja for that matter. I think Ravindra Jadeja and R. Ashwin stand in very good stead to find that spinning spot in this 11. But it will be a very close call between these two, the closest of them all in the whole tour to be in that playing 11. And I think with Virat Kohli, he has gone mostly with Ravi Chandran Ashwin on slow pitches. But the first test match, the day nighter, I think
Mhm.
we will need that extra batting cushion with Ravindra Jadeja in form, and that should
Yes,
go in his favor. And he should
yes,
find that spot in the 11 for first test at least.
yes. Atisham, yes, under lights, things can happen pretty quickly, and we have seen wickets falling in clusters under lights in the day-night test matches. So yes, that extra cushion will be an advantage for Ravindra Jadeja. But again, my question here is: will India go with seven batsmen, 7-4 combination, or 6-5 combination?
Abhishek, first of all, Jadeja is considering Jadeja, that is 7-4 with three fast bowlers, and Jadeja considered as a bowler. We can never go 6-5 in test matches. That will come back and haunt us as it has always done, because we need that batting cushion. And you talking about the day night test match, and
No, no, no.
you talk about the
Absolutely
third.
not.
Yes, yeah, and you talk about the third session. You remember what Anderson did? He ran through the Australian lineup, and someone like Hazelwood in their lineup. And if he gets the ball, a new ball in the third session, consider what will happen to our batting lineup. We need that extra cushion. So it will be 7-4 for certain, and for the rest of the test matches as well. Because with these three fast bowlers, we don't need anyone else, I guess, to fill in that spot for that fourth seamer. As well as with Ravi Chandran Ashwin or Ravindra Jadeja as a spinner in that 11, I don't think that we need that extra option, because our bowling lineup seems completely sorted and very strong. We don't want to
Absolutely.
compromise on that batting order, especially with Virat Kohli not in the 11. That's what I think.
Hmm.
It will be 7 flow. It will be 7-4 for all the test matches.
Okay, then I think we are in agreement with 7-4 combination, and
Yeah.
that's the way it should be for the Indians in test match.
So that's all, guys. That's what we had to discuss in both of these segments. And we enjoyed discussing every point of it. And I hope when this releases, you will like it as well to listen to it. Okay, so now let's roll our dice and make our predictions. So, Abhishek, what do you think? What will be the results of these three series that we have?
I think 2-1 in favor of India, ODIs and T20s, and I'm backing and I'm favoring Indians to win the test series. Maybe 2-1, but obviously it will be a close encounter. What do you think, Etisham?
Okay. Okay, fair prediction. What I think is for ODIs, it will be 2-1 in the favor of Indians. T20s also, I will agree with you, 2-1 to go in favor of the Indians. But in test matches, I think if we win the tosses, as I suggested, then we stand a good stead. But overall, averaging my prediction out, I think it'll be 2-2. And if a test match is drawn, I think Indians will lose out and Australia would go on to win it 2-1. But I think realistically, it should be 2-2. It should be 2-2, the test series.
Right then, that brings us to the end of this episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of season 2. And if you enjoyed our discussion, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for all the different streaming platforms, link are in the description.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys. Thank you.